Good morning. So, as Reverend Wong said, my talk this morning is on transition. And so it is called Releasing Birth and Releasing Death, Embracing Transition. This is a season of birth and death, a season when we perch on tipping points and then let ourselves slip over their edges. On winter solstice, we were, for just an instant, experiencing the darkest second of the darkest day of the year, and then within moments, we were skating on to the first second of the first day of new light. In a couple of days from now, we will be standing on the edge between 2019 and 2020. And then, within one moment of one breath, we will glide from this year into the next. These kinds of rhythms remind me of waves lapping onto the shore. The water pulls back, gathering itself together, pulling, gathering more water and more energy until it cannot hold itself back any further, and then it releases and pours forward, spreading itself into and onto the sandy shoreline. Back and forth, light and dark, this year, next year, birth and death. Our founding teacher, Master Sotae-san, said, "Birth and death is like the opening and closing of your eyes, inhaling and exhaling, or falling asleep and waking up. There might be differences in how long these take, but the principle is the same. Birth and death is originally non-dual. Arising and ceasing originally do not exist. Enlightened people understand it as transformation." This passage has been keeping me company for a while now, as I have been thinking quite a bit about birth and death. Last year, I was at my father's side when he took his last breath. And some months later, I held my newly born grandson. With my human eyes and human nerve cells and human emotions, it was quite easy to distinguish between the death and birth of these family members. So I keep thinking about Sotae-san's perspective and keep returning to his observation that birth and death are non-dual. His experience and understanding is shared by many wise teachers in Won Buddhism and in other traditions who explain that there is no beginning and no ending, no arising and no ceasing. So, what should I do with these teachings that seem to conflict with my own experiences? My first approach to understanding the truth of no birth and no death was to grapple with it using my brain. I would imagine an ocean wave and ask myself, as you watch the wave rolling in and out, is there a time when it exists and a time when it does not? Well, sort of. While I could easily say, yes, the wave is there, I definitely can see it, I was not sure there ever was a point when I could say it was definitely gone. What would gone mean? No water visible via human eyesight? No water visible to a sand flea? Zero water molecules remaining in the sand? No impact from the water that was once there? No clear answers emerged. And I could see that this approach was not very productive. I had been treating birth and death as a brain teaser, a puzzle that could be solved with effort and creativity. I had been hoping that somehow an improved set of mental gymnastics skills would allow me to reframe my father's death and my grandson's birth and conclude, sure, no problem, same thing. So, given the limitations of words, let's together see what direct experience can teach us. So, we are going to do a group activity using our breath. First, we are going to inhale as long as possible and then note how that felt. And after that, we're going to exhale as long as possible and note how that felt. So there's two things to keep in mind. One, there are no awards for being the person in the room who can inhale or exhale the longest. Sorry. And also, if we're doing this and you feel you really need to breathe, please do so. We don't want anybody to pass out. This is just an experiment using our bodies. Okay, so I'm going to count to 3, and then we're going to just keep inhaling as long as we can. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Inhale. In. Hold your breath. Keep holding. Keep breathing in. Hold. Keep going. Hold on to it. Keep going as long as you can. And then just breathe out. Take a moment and just think how that felt. Think about the energy you needed to use. Okay, now on the count of 3, we're going to take a breath in and then release it. So 1, 2, 3, breathe in and release. Keep releasing. Hold on to that intention of releasing. Go. Push. Keep going as long as you can. Okay. Now, how did that feel? Did you notice how much energy it took, especially towards the end? You had to really push and use your brain and mental energy, physical energy, to either to hold breath in or to push it out. Can you imagine what that would feel like if we gripped on to every in-breath and every out-breath each time we breathed? This kind of forced breathing is the opposite of natural breathing. When we breathe naturally, we only need to use a little bit of energy. But when we clench tightly to our breath, we strain our body, and we need both extra mental and physical energy. Consider how this kind of vice grip approach would work for us in other situations, such as arising and ceasing, and birth and death. A few minutes ago, I read a passage from the scripture book in which Sotaesan compared birth and death to eyes opening and closing. In the normal course of your day, do you frantically exert yourself to keep your eyelids open or shut because you do not want them to blink? Do you think to yourself, no, dear eyelids, please don't move. Don't blink, just stay in the same position. Don't ever change. Probably not. It seems natural for us to simply allow our eyelids to open and shut at their leisure. The nice thing about breathing and blinking is that we usually allow our body parts to do their thing without entangling them in our mental constraints. Unhindered by us, they do a beautiful job of effortlessly taking care of our bodies. Unhindered is a really great word. No boundaries, no burdens, no constrictions, totally free. Being unhindered with my breathing means I am perfectly at ease with my natural breath. I am not worried that I might forget to inhale or exhale. I don't ever think things would be easier if I latched on to one aspect of breathing and then held on to it for dear life. Being unhindered with my vision means I do not worry about when my eyelids open and close. When I look at waves near the seashore, I do not worry about what aspect of a wave is gathering itself together or releasing itself into the sand. I am comfortable with these rhythmic processes just as they are. Well, it's one thing to be cozy with waves and breathing in our eyelids, but what about birth and death, sickness and health, self and other? Even if I can imagine these things as unbroken continuums, as singularities, how can I become fully comfortable gliding along their processes? The answer in Won Buddhism is we practice. Through practice, we unhinge our attachments and set them free. And this freedom creates in us a peaceful and powerful spaciousness. Graceful effortlessness becomes our default setting, and we glide. There are many ways we practice. We chant, drop, release, let it go, to center our energy and shape our consciousness. We meditate in silence to melt our turbulence and cultivate openings to our true nature. We meditate in action. Throughout the year, our temple provides many opportunities and powerful programs to help us nurture our practice. In a few days, we will come together for two special ones that resonate with each other: our temple's annual letting go ceremony and our New Year's Day ceremony. We begin on New Year's Eve. By candlelight, we consider the last year and write down our disappointments, failings, and regrets. Having gathered them together in our minds and on paper, we go outside and burn them, fully releasing them. In the new spaciousness this creates, one of unclutter and hope, we contemplate our aspirations for the new year and our new life. Then, honoring our newly kindled spaciousness, we take a breath and walk out these doors into the winter night. The next morning, we walk back through those same doors to welcome and celebrate the birth of a new year. Our New Year's Day opens with the pulsing, magical, earthy sound of the didgeridoo resonating all around us. And then, together as a community, we co-mingle our bright hopes and aspirations through special prayers, chanting, music, and Dharma messages. Together, these ritual gatherings on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day create one beautiful transition. But transitions are not just specific formal events. If you look, you'll find transitions all around us. In our scripture book, Sotae-san devoted an entire chapter to the transitions found in life and death. This chapter is called Sending on Spirits to Transition, and in it, Sotae-san invites us to consider the end of our physical life and how we will enter the next phase of our existence. There's a special section in this chapter called Dharma Words for Releasing Souls Before and After Death. Here, Sotae-san not only encourages us, but instructs us to focus and then to release our attachments. He says, "Oh dear one, are you listening well? Fortify your mind. If you do not extinguish even a hair's breadth of attachment to desire and clinging, you will naturally fall into baleful destinies. In that state, how can you ever receive immeasurable wisdom and blessings?" Sotae-san does not encourage us to solve mental problems and puzzles about life and death, or forcibly corral our experiences into specific human frameworks, no matter how well-intentioned. He urges us to release anything that is hindering our being, anything weighing us down and keeping us from happily gliding along our life's journey and our death's journey and its infinite transformations. My prayer for all of us during these last days of December is that we hold this year close and then set it free. May your lives be blessed with spaciousness. Thank you.
Thank you.